Hello to everyone. Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I'm coming on to bring a message to you all. I'm going to start off with a dream that I had. I also want to reference a dream and a message that I did a few months ago. Well, actually, 1 month ago, I did this particular message, but this is going to be specifically entitled "The Spell Called Jesus is Broken. Are you ready?" Okay, are y'all ready? Now, a month ago, I did a message called "The War Against Spirituality Continues." Okay, go back and check out that message because I had a very significant dream at that time where, if you all watched it, I was shown a cross that was in the middle of a structure, and the cross began to collapse. And when the cross collapsed, the entire structure collapsed. And I saw that structure as being the matrix and the current power structure by these low vibrational beings, okay? So the cross, of course, represents the religious structure, specifically catered to the Roman Catholic Church, Christianity, and the false illusionary Christ, the European Christ that has been pushed all across the globe and forced upon many different people. And it is definitely associated and connected to spell work and dark magic and rituals done against the organic beings of the planet, specifically though targeted towards melanated people so that we would not awaken to our own power, awaken to who we are, and so that we will always give our power and our energy to a false illusionary Caucasian god that would be harnessing our energy through our prayers, through our grieving, through our fear, and using that as a generator for the current power structure. So before we get too deep off into that, I just want you all to know that particular message that I did showed me that there is a war on spirituality. Those people who are taking the narrow path, those people who are standing up against this current false illusionary belief system that was handed to us for too many years now all across the globe, and who are saying no more. Now you see that there is first of all, let me not forget, I had a couple of people who text me as well as emailed me videos in regards to the uh, the Africans, many of the different Africans standing up and saying we are no longer accepting your false European Christ as being our God. We're giving it back. We're denouncing it. Many of them was burning the Bible. Many of them was burning the photos of Caesar Borgia, the false illusionary Christ. Many people are awakening, specifically melanated people across the globe are awakening, and they are denouncing this lie. We are in the age of Aquarius. So this is the time of the awakening where nothing can be hidden. And so now, even those people who was already aware of the fact that this Christ was not real, they might have hid their opinion out of fear of judgment of the world. But now people are no longer hiding their truth. That can't be hidden either. So you'll find that more people are going to begin to speak out, and the more that people bring it to the world and are not concerned about judgment by others, the more that others will also. It's going to be a domino effect all across the globe, especially for the melanated man, woman, and child. So now I want to get into a dream that I recently had here. Like I said, thank you to you all who sent me those emails and text messages. I don't always get a chance to respond to my emails because by the time I get ready to go back and reply, I got a floodgate of other emails, and then I have a hard time finding yours. So if I didn't email you back for sending me that video, shout out to you, and thank you. So now I had a dream, okay? This dream was pretty interesting because, first of all, there was a melanated man. He was being sued by 3 European men. Now, all 3 of these men they was dressed in suits, they had their hair slicked back, and they was all attorneys, okay? So here you have this melanated man. He was very timid in his energy. He seemed like he was in a depressive state when he was standing there. I was just like there watching this whole court session play out. I don't know who I was. I don't even think I was I was just there to see it, to witness it, okay? And so the judge, the 3 men who was suing this young man, what they were suing him for was this huge watermelon. Like they had his watermelon on their side of the courtroom. This watermelon belonged to this melanated man, okay? Now, it might sound like a stereotype, but this is what the dream was about. The biggest watermelon you could ever imagine. And they were suing him for, one, the watermelon, but they was also suing him for his land, his property, okay? Now, this man that they were suing, the melanated man, actually, he was the husband of the judge. So the judge that was ruling the case was actually his mother-in-law. The men who were suing him, these attorneys, had no idea that this was his mother-in-law. Now, the thing is, the man who was being sued, he didn't know which way this thing was going to go because he was having problems at home. He was not taking care of the land. He was not taking care of his family or his marriage. He had completely gone into this state where he just was a very depressive state, and it was preventing him from being the father and the husband and the tiller of the land, or whatever his position was. He was not rising to the occasion. So he didn't know where he was going to stand in this court case. It could have went either way as far as he was concerned. But again, these men that were suing him, that were attorneys, they automatically thought that the verdict was going to go in their favor, because they thought, I know the law, I have the physical appearance that is in alignment, and they had this man's watermelon. They had grins on their face, pretty much, kind of making jokes amongst one another, like they just knew that they had this in the bag, okay? The judge ended up asking a series of questions. I don't remember what questions was asked, but I do recall that towards the end, by the time she got ready to make the final decision, she asked them, why do you have his watermelon? And they said, well, we have the watermelon because, first of all, we have a lot of charities that we can donate this watermelon to. And so we feel like we have the right to have this watermelon, because what is he going to do with it? How does he deserve this watermelon? And so she ordered them to give the watermelon back to the young man. First of all, that was her first order. Everybody in the courtroom that was observing it in the benches, they gasped for air, like, oh, I can't believe that was her verdict. Even the men who was being sued, they was like, oh my gosh, she's making us give back the watermelon. So now everybody waited in suspense to see what the next verdict would be. The next one was that they would not be able to take his land. So whatever it is they had against him, they had to go ahead and stand down, because he was going to keep his land and he was going to be returned his watermelon. Now, towards the end of my dream, before I woke up, the young man reunited with his wife, with the mother-in-law, who was the judge. They was all walking towards the land. And the young man and his wife ran ahead of her, because there was a couple of pieces of paper that was on the ground. They picked it up, and she was like, Mom, I'm about to go check the mailbox. She went to the mailbox like, don't worry, we got this. In other words, they wanted to show her that now they was prepared to take care of this land the way that it should have been taken care of. They was not going to drop the ball this time. They were showing her that they now had an appreciation for the land. And that's when I woke up. A lot of messages came flooding through in regards to that dream. First of all, the watermelon representing fertility, okay, abundance. The watermelon contains many, many seeds, and so there is much more growth that can come from that one melon, okay? But it also represents getting back to your nature, getting back to what is organically or inherently who you have been created to be. These three men who were so-called attorneys represented the system, this false governmental structure that has used colorful language to confuse people. That's the language of Babel. They've used this colorful language to steal, kill, destroy, and then they brought forth a false belief system that took people, our people, melanated people specifically, so far away from their nature that even the divine connection that we have to the land that we stand on, even though it is inherently ours, we lost appreciation for it. We lost the divine connection to it. We lost respect for it, okay? Because as you know, you can go through a lot of communities where it's predominantly melanated, depending on the energy of the people. Sometimes it can be very cleaned and beautiful, okay? But then in other areas, it can be very torn down, worn down, and people just litter. They don't even think twice. This is not just physically, though. This is also a spiritual reflection, as above, so below. And so these people who were the attorneys, like I said, they represent the corrupt governmental structure that really believed that they had some authority over what is inherently ours, largely because they had confused us. They had put us in the low, because this man was depressed. So if the man who was being sued, the melanated man who was being sued, represents the energy of the melanated people across the globe, we had to be taken to a very low vibrational state. The energy of fear was placed upon us. The energy of lack mentality was placed upon us. The energy of false religious belief systems was placed upon us. So many different things that took us away from our origin, so much so that we lost that divine connection to what is inherently ours, which is our spiritual gifts, that divine connection to the Most High, that divine connection we have to our spiritual team, knowledge of self, knowing thyself. All of these things got placed in the back burner, so much so that these people thought that they was going to come in and say they don't deserve it. And because they do not deserve it, we're here to take it, because we believe that we have the rights to it, because we're attorneys in fancy suits and we got our hair slicked back real nice, and we got this colorful language going on. We know the law. What they know is codes and policies. You all are coming to realize that. Many of you already recognize that. There's no law. You can't establish law on a land that you stole. But that was all a part of the Babel, the language of Babel, to confuse you into thinking, okay, make you forget who you are, make you forget that this is inherently yours, make you forget the your spiritual belief systems, and hand you something that is totally opposite of that, something that works completely against your nature. And by the time we get you so confused that you don't even recognize yourself in the mirror, at that point we come in and we swipe up everything that belongs to you. And that's what they did. And so the thing about it, the beautiful thing about this dream, though, is that the judge was the mother. The judge represents the Most High God, the highest level of authority, who is already divinely connected to you. To those of us who are the organic beings of this planet, our mother and our father, who is the Most High God, the highest of all highs, the judge of all judges, is the one that makes the final verdict. In spite of what type of case these people or illusion these people try to create against us, in our sleep state, underneath the spell of this false illusionary European God, we lost our divine connection. It got suppressed underneath a false belief system and a false narrative of who we truly are. So now you have people all across the globe, melanated people all across in Africa, that's standing up and saying, nope, we're burning the image. You lied to us. We are denouncing this false illusionary Christ. We are denouncing this religious belief system. We are going back into our nature. We're getting back into our origin. We are no longer feeding the beast of your structure. We are no longer allowing you to siphon and energy harvest from us. And so this is why I feel like this message right here is directly connected to my other message, The War Against Spirituality Continues, because now that this is getting, y'all gonna see this a lot more. It's getting ready to spread like wildfire. I don't know how many people have made these videos. I was only shown one specific video, but in that video, it was multiple people from different parts of Africa who was denouncing this false Christ. And as a result of this, it's going to spread like fire. Okay? Now, obviously, they're not the first ones to stand up and say this is not true. I was guided. I was shown this over a year ago, and I did a message also called, oh gosh, y'all gonna have to go back and check it out. It's Christ was a ritualistic sacrifice. I've mentioned this video multiple times before. Or the ritualistic sacrifice of Christ, something like that. I was wearing a black and red shirt, okay? And in that particular message, before I did that message, it hit me like a ton of bricks that the sacrifice of the true Christ that was born in the age of Pisces, because this happened, based on biblical text, it was at the very beginning of the age of Pisces that it is said in biblical text that Christ would have been crucified. Now, this is a time that Pisces energy is when you're really tapping into your intuition. You're tapping into that divine, like that higher level of understanding, higher consciousness. And you're being very receptive to the spiritual aspects of your existence. That's when the enemy swooped in and needed to create a sacrifice. And so at that time, there's been many Christs that have been born. A Christ is generally someone who is in Christ consciousness, someone who has that divine connection. They understand things from a higher perspective, and they're balanced, they're in alignment, and they're definitely taking the road less traveled. So that Christ, they stand out, okay? And generally they end up attracting people to them who have been asleep or who are hungry for something, for knowledge that is far greater than what society is conditioning them to believe or is teaching at that time. And so Christ, which would have been potentially Yeshua, right? This was a melanated man who ended up having his identity stolen, and they flipped everything about him and said that he came in, he came in to volunteer himself to be killed. No. He came in to sacrifice himself for the sake of the sins of all people across the globe. But the fact of the matter is, they killed that man because the messages that he came bringing to the world was in direct opposition to what the governmental structure and the religious structure wanted their particular, the people of their community to believe. It was in direct opposition. It would have placed people in a position where they begin to self-govern themselves. It would have placed people in a position where they're no longer leaning on the teachings or the false illusions of that particular governmental structure. And so the way that you stay in power for these people, okay, in their mind, their sick, twisted mind, the way that you gain power is by first taking people as far away from their nature as possible, by feeding them lies, and by siphoning their energy, spell work, fear tactics, okay? They needed to do a series of things that was very low vibrational, and one of them that was very major was to create an illusionary God by the name of Jesus. That would be a European, very soft, very effeminate energy, and to place it up all across the globe so that when you close your eyes to pray, the only thing that you can envision is this European Christ. But not only that, they took it a step further and told you that this European Christ, you must call their name. You must say their name, because if you don't mention their name in your prayers, then your prayers will not be heard by the Most High of all highs. And so the only way that you can make it is through the connection to this Jesus, okay? That's strong spell work. And people wonder, well, how the heck did they manage to get into a position of power? How the heck did they even manage to get people to believe in this false Christ? You go from being in your nature, having that divine connection, direct connection to the Most High God, having that connection to nature, very strong in your own culture. I'm talking about the melanated people across the world too. Now almost everybody across the globe that looks like me and you are literally focusing in on a European Christ, one that looks just like your oppressor. Now, for those of you who are European that have joined my channel, if you take this personally, I tell y'all this all the time in my past messages. If you take this personally, it's largely because there's something within you that does not want to face the truth of the matter, okay? And I can't help you with that. All I'm here to do is to bring the truth forward and to let you all know that, for you and for anyone else across the globe, this is a time of massive change. And the white supremacy that is carried on for far too long is now being shut down, largely because the power structure can no longer harness the energy of the melanated man, woman, and child and get the majority of us to direct our energy towards this false illusionary God. They needed to harness the energy, and this is why, as I said before, many other messages, there's a church on every corner, specifically though in the melanated community. I don't know if that's the case out in Africa. If you're from Africa, shout out to y'all. Leave a message in the comments and let us know. Is there a church on every corner? in Africa? And are these churches largely directing their attention towards a false illusionary Christ that is European? Let me know in the comments below, please, whether you're from Africa or not. Let me know if you've been there. But here on American soil, there's a church on every corner in melanated communities, largely because on those Sundays, on them Wednesdays, on them Saturdays, whatever days that melanated people have congregated, that's when they've been very intentional about harnessing and siphoning the energy, because they know that the majority of those people have directed their attention towards the illusionary God, that the wicked power structure has created. And that illusionary God is actually what has kept their structure in place. And that's why that dream that I had a month ago where the cross collapsed, it had all of these this structure that was all around the cross, but the cross was right in the center. When a cross broke, every other facet of it, everything that stood around it, broke as well. That's the matrix that's coming down. And so the first thing that needed to be broken was the spell that was placed over us in regards to our spirituality. Because once you get to the spirituality of a man, then you got him in the bag. If you can convince him of a false illusionary God and get him to direct his attention, his emotions, his energy, his prayers, his fears, his, everything towards that particular entity, then every other facet of his existence or his or her existence for generations to come will be underneath your control. Why? Because these people understood the law. As above, so below. So if I can get the spiritual nature of you, then I can definitely conquer and control the physical aspect of everything that you do. I can get you to believe in my politics. I can get you to believe in my banking systems. I can get you to believe in my educational systems. I can get you to believe in every aspect. I can tell you that the sky is purple tomorrow, and you'll believe it, largely because now the God that you are directing your focus towards looks just like me. And because he looks just like me, even though naturally most melanated people would say, these people just ain't about the right. Subconsciously, if you still believe in a European Christ, subconsciously, you see that person as being God. Subconsciously, you see that person as being someone who is in a higher position or a place of authority or has some sort of closer divine connection to the Most High. And this is why it goes so deep. But because of this platform, there's certain things that I can't say. But certain groups who call themselves a particular name concerning the chosen people, they knew that they needed to come in and create that illusion for the world at a specific moment in history, when the majority of the melanated man, woman, and child will be directing their focus towards this false European Christ. That way, when they stood up and said, well, we're the chosen and we belong over here on this land in Israel, everybody will buy it hook, line, and sinker, because you're already under the impression that the Most High God is directly connected to someone that looks like your oppressor. And so then they get into a position of power. They own everything, the banking systems, the media, the music, the movies, religious structures, everything that you can think of that has this whole governmental system standing. They are at the head of all of that. But when you look at all of it, it's all wickedness. So then you got to question, well, wait a minute. If that's the chosen people over there, then why is it that everything that they promote and support and financially support and push out to the world is of wickedness? Then you got to ask yourself, wait a minute. It's because they wanted you to believe the opposite of what's really true. It was all about taking you so far out of your nature that you would buy anything that they're selling, because there's no part of you that's directly connected or tapped in. You have no remembrance of your origin. You have no remembrance of who you are and the fact that you are royalty and that you came through a royal bloodline. You forget it all because you're putting so much of your focus on an entity, a God that looks nothing like you. And you're being told that that God is the one that's going to save you. And without it, if you veer away from it, oh, you're definitely going to hell, because anything that does not look like that particular God is all anti-Christ. When in fact, anything that is the opposite is true. Everything that looks like that European Christ is the Antichrist, because it works directly against the true nature of the one that they killed. So we kill a melanated man who comes in spreading the truth and potentially taking people away from our structure and awakening them. Oh no, we got to sacrifice him. His energy is so powerful that when we do sacrifice him, though, we can harness this energy. There will be many people that grieve his death. There will be many people that grieve him no longer being here. And so we're going to harness the energy of fear that comes from those people when we sacrifice him. We're going to harness the energy of grieving from those people when we sacrifice him. We're going to hang him on the tree, which is what biblical text says, right? That Christ was hung on a tree. So what happened after that, y'all? Y'all know that many sacrifices took place since Christ was hung on a tree that looked exactly like that. To who? The melanated man, woman, and child. They continued these sacrifices for a long time. Okay, they're the same people. The same Romans who sacrificed Christ at that time and then took his image later on and said, no, but this is what he looked like. This is Christ. And guess what? He came here for this. Don't you recognize that he came here to be killed? He came here to be sacrificed. So no, don't mourn and grieve it. Matter of fact, every first Sunday, I want you to eat of his body and I want you to drink of his blood. Why? Because there's dark magic and spell work and rituals that have been done directly associated with the killing and the lynching of Yeshua when he came in as an awakened being, a spirit who was having a human experience, but he was well beyond the understanding of most people. And that's why people gravitated to his teachings, because he was able to pick up things. He traveled, he learned many things from many different parts of the world, and it awakened something within him to the point where it was like, this man possesses some power and some wisdom. And see, the thing that these power structures fear the most is an awakened, melanated man. That is the scariest thing to this power structure. An awakened, melanated man who knows who he is the most intimidating thing. And so this is why from that point on, all you see is, okay, the image of the cross, the false illusionary Christ, though, laid up on a cross, pinned down. This is what they got people rocking chains with this on them. You literally wearing chains to represent the lynching of someone that looks just like you. But the thing is, they flipped it. And they said, well, no, he doesn't look just like you, because if they told you that Christ or that Yeshua possessed all of this power, that this person was a melanated man, then many people would awaken to the fact, well, if he could do it, and if he was able to tap in and connect, then I know I have a divine connection, because even in scripture it says, greater works than me shall ye do. Fact of the matter is, they also had to remove the fact that Yeshua was a man, just like you. He was a human being, just like you and I. A spirit having a human experience. They had to make you think that Yeshua was someone who was so, more so just not a human being, okay? He came through an immaculate conception. There was no sex that created him. So he was not a normal, everyday person, is what they wanted you to believe, so that they could create that disconnect. Okay, and then on top of that, they turn around and add to it. No, but not only was he not a human like you, but he definitely didn't look like you. So it takes you completely, they fed you a complete lie, total opposite of the truth. And people bought it. Why? Because they came in at a very vulnerable time in history. And you know, with the Pisces, I personally associate the Pisces energy with the energy of emotions, because it is a water sign. And so they was able to harness the emotions of the people, you know, put people in this place of fear. Okay, if you believe in this particular belief system, you're going to be killed, you're going to be murdered, you're going to be ostracized from the community, you're going to lose this, you're going to lose that. Same thing they're doing today, except they're doing it in a different manner. Now it's, you don't have the right to speak your truth. You cannot openly communicate the truth of what's happened in history, because if you do, we're going to take your platform. If you do, we're going to make you apologize. If you're a celebrity and you out here speaking your truth, now you got to apologize for everything that you say. If you are working in a specific position, okay, if you got a license here, if you got a doctorate there, oh, okay, we're going to withdraw your license if we find out that you're speaking against certain people or certain groups or certain people from the power structure. Oh, you better zip your lips, because in other words, they're going to sacrifice your livelihood. And then in other cases, they actually have all out sacrifice where they will kill you if you get too far. But see, the thing is, we're in the age of Aquarius. And so what these people recognize is that those of us who are supposed to awaken, they can't stop it. Christ consciousness is awakening. The full body of Christ consciousness is awakening across the globe. And because it's not just one person here or there, a couple of people here or there in history, because it is a massive awakening that's happening all across the globe, it's too much, it's too powerful. It's shifting the energy. And so the power structure, like I said, that cross that collapsed in my dream a month ago, the entire structure of the matrix now falls with the illusion of their religion, of the religious belief systems that they have fed and forced upon our people for far too long. They needed this belief system to pass down from one generation to the next, because this is how you carry out generational curses, okay? So the curse of Jesus, that energy, needed to be fed to your offspring, your offspring's offspring. They needed you to push that on them hard. And so the only way that they could actually be successful in ensuring that people would not veer away from that belief system is to incite fear and to make you believe that anything outside of it leads you straight to the doors of hell. And so there are a lot of brainwashed pastors out here that look just like me and you, that will put people out of the church, that will call people out in front of the congregation, that will do all of these things. Like I said in my dream, also in that same message, I had so-called pastors who was speaking up my name in their church saying, if you believe in Shavi Zane, then you're going straight to hell because she's a liar and she practices witchcraft and all this other stuff. This is what's getting ready to happen. You're going to see a pushback from the religious structure towards those people who are speaking out and who are saying no more. We don't believe in this mess no more. So there's getting ready to be, it's probably going to be almost every church on every corner. The main sermon that they're going to be pushing is against spirituality, to deter people from going down the road less traveled, taking the narrow path. But see, the fact of the matter is, the narrow path is narrow for a reason, because the majority have been taking that path, especially when you're talking about melanated people. You know, people were scared. Our people were scared to say that they was anything other than Christian for a long time. Okay? Because your own family will push you away. Your own family would deny you. Your own mother or father would get angry. You know, some people got smacked in the face if they said anything that was in opposition to what they was taught. Because there's so much fear surrounding anything that is opposite what the enemy has presented. And so they needed it. The more that they could pass down that belief system and have our people praying in that direction and harnessing that energy from one generation to the next, the longer their power structure could stand. Because again, without our permission, without our energy, without us believing in the politics and the false illusion that they have given us, oh my gosh, we withdraw our energy from the beast gets starved out, and the whole system collapses. So what's happening right now is, in the spiritual realm, that beast that actually held this system up is starving. It is dying of thirst and hunger right now. And so out of desperation, there will be, the puppet masters are going to be talking to the puppets, who are many of these pastors and these priests and things of that nature. They're going to be calling them in and saying, look, we got to have a meeting. We got to have a conversation because there's too many people that's awakening. So I need y'all to push the message. Hey, speak against the spiritual community. Start talking about it. Start telling the world that this is hate, that this is witchcraft, and that they warlocks, and that they're witches, and that they're anything that is in opposition to the Most High God. They want you. They gon' trash and drag. Please believe. But like I said, the path is narrow for a reason. So you will find that there will be a lot of people that will actually say, oh my gosh, that you're right, Pastor. They're going to be in there shouting, passing out, foaming at the mouth, and all types of stuff to these sermons, okay? Please believe this. But the energy of those who withdraw from the beast is far greater and stronger than those who willingly continue to feed it. The energy of us coming together as a collective body, Christ consciousness all across the globe, is far greater, even though in numbers, it doesn't look the same, the balance is off. The energy that is projected from those of us who have that true divine connection to the source and that have come out of the matrix, have come up out of the illusion, and they have risen into higher vibration is far greater than low vibrational puppets who continue to willingly feed the beast out of fear. And so they're going to try to fight up against it, but it's not a war, because just like in my dream, the judge had already determined who the land was inherently given to. It was already determined before they even created the lawsuit. Before these so-called people of this system, so-called attorneys, the 3 attorneys, before they even came in to try to go against that young man, it was already determined that he wasn't going to lose nothing, but that he had just fallen asleep. He was in a deep sleep state, so he had forgotten his position. He had forgotten his assignment. You see what I'm saying? Because he was in a depressed state. But see, the Most High God recognized that we stepped outside of our origin. We were, no longer in, organic beings or in our divine positions, because we were under a spell. That's what the whole awakening is all about. Awakening from the spell. And so it begins with this religious structure. So, like I said, get prepared to hear, especially the big name pastors, because they want to make sure that the message is just as loud as our people are speaking out and saying, we're not going to deal with this anymore, or they're going to want to try to speak even louder with these puppets. The puppet masters are going to direct and guide these puppets to come out here and to speak against the spiritual community. So don't let it deter you. Don't let it force you or run you back towards Babylon. Don't do it, because Babylon is coming down. Ain't no getting ready to. It is currently falling down, because the beast that built this structure in the spiritual realm is starving out, and it is losing its supply. And this is not a supply that it's going to get back, because the only way that this beast will get its supply back is if you go back to sleep. And see, my answer is I ain't sleepy. Okay? Already in the 3D, I only sleep for about 4 hours, and I get up in my entire day. I got energy for days. I'm not sleepy. And I know you ain't either. We ain't going back to sleep. Okay? We are not going back to sleep to go back into the spell, underneath the spell of this structure, just to feed that beast and to give it the nourishment that it needs so that they can carry out this wicked agenda for another few generations. Oh no, those generational curses stop right here in our generation, because we are Christ consciousness. We've awakened. We've broken those generational curses. We're not passing down that false illusion to our children. We are not feeding them with the false illusions of this structure, whether it be concerning the politics, whether it be concerning the false educational system where they try to feed to your children. Or your culture means that you celebrate the 4th of July. Your culture means you celebrate Thanksgiving. All of these things are in direct opposition to our nature and our true culture, because what it does is it uplifts them in their colonizing energy, their theft, their criminality. It uplifts them every time that you go and celebrate and gather your family on behalf of a holiday that they've created. When you put all of those little, European baby Jesuses outside of your front yard for Christmas, We ain't teaching them this mess. You want to celebrate? Choose a day. Pick a day. Tell your family, today is the day that we sit down and we eat good. Does it have to be Thanksgiving? Hell to the no. Because you understand that the carving of that turkey and that cranberry sauce, that represents the killing of your people, the slaughtering of your people. The cranberry sauce represents the blood. When you go and say, well, Christmas, we celebrating Christmas, this is not the birth of Yeshua. This is the birth of the European false illusionary Christ that they wanted to feed to your ancestors. This is what you're celebrating. When you celebrate Easter and you going up in there talking about, well, this is, they doing this whole play and they got the cross, somebody is bearing a cross and somebody come up there and they acting like they all dead and all this other stuff. What you're doing is you're giving praise and celebrating the killing, the lynching, and the murdering of your own brother who just came to awaken others, just like you doing right now. So this is where we draw the line. The line has already been drawn. We cutting this thing out. Get prepared for change. Are y'all ready? Because with the collapse of this system, there's many other things that's going to collapse as a result of it. And that's why it's so important to not have a codependency on the enemy. To not have a codependency on this criminal structure. You want to pull all the way out. Even when it comes down to the green paper that has the name, the faces of these people on it. We're going to have a conversation about that in a future message concerning the currency. The energy is changing. Currency is energy. The green paper, I'm talking about the money, that's getting ready to change too. But see, then you might ask, well, what are we going to do? If we don't have the green paper, then what are we going to do? Same thing we did before they even created it. Same thing our ancestors did long before they even created green paper with the faces of your oppressor on it. But see, the only thing that gives the currency its energy or its value is your dependency on it. That's a whole nother message in and of itself. But I would just say, get ready. Are you ready? Because now that the false illusionary religious structure is now falling and our people are denouncing this image and we are denouncing the worship and the focus and the praise and the prayers to that image, oh man, this thing getting ready to fall like a ton of bricks. So I would just say, get ready. Go check out my other message. The War Against Spirituality continues. If you want a private reading from me, email me. If you want to order my hair or body oils, email me. I love you all. Thank you all for your support, your donations, and I will talk to you all next time.